she looked again, but still couldn't find the man who was sublime and tried again, but no, that wasn't to be. Still she produced for one, but two daughters we. Wow, that is pretty neat. Take a seat, the channel you're at is LGBT friendly, and so you best respectful of others, or you will be launched into orbit by Robin's Mars. Ooh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Robin, she is awesome. Some lyrics I can't think of. Let's talk about the things of this world that matter, so we can maybe think about a way to make it neat. It will be sweet. Yeah, yeah, Robin. Don't mention.
Hey y'all, I have a special guest, Big Bad Mama.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you.
How you doing? Yeah, 2 in a row. Yes, yes. I'm on a mission this
Good
week.
job.
Yeah, trying to. So tonight we're gonna watch a video and respond to Joel from the Think Institute. He's a presuppositional apologetic, which I feel like apologetics are largely. Um, oh, she said BBM shocked me. It was you. Oh, I lost connection there.
Just briefly, you did.
Yeah. Oh, what's going on with that?
It's okay.
But anyway, so yeah, this guy, he cracks me up. I I've thought about calling into his show sometime, but I don't know. You just can't do anything with presuppositional people.
I mean, hasn't that stuff like been debunked over and over again? I'm not good on the precept stuff, but I can just see the flaws in it, I think.
Well, yeah. How would you ever know you were wrong?
Right,
You know,
right.
if you assume you can't be wrong, I guess it's all right. But it's good to
Is
see
this
you,
the
Mama.
title? Is this the title of your stream? Is the title of his video that we're going to watch?
Well, I
Is
just had
is
mine. Yeah, I just had mine as is the Bible good evidence for Christianity? But I think his is um, something else. Like it's something similar, but I didn't make it the
oh, okay?
same. But anyway, we'll get right into it.
Let's get right into it.
Yeah. Oh, please highlight me. Miss Maud said, "Was Von Helton busy?"
Fuck you. I was watching Von Helton yesterday, actually, so that's really funny.
Yeah, Miss Maud.
Jeez, they're already giving me a hard time. It's a good thing I'm not watching the chat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
Okay. I don't know how to make this
What's this
screen.
guy's name? Joel.
Joel. I don't know what his last name is.
Yeah.
For some
What's
reason,
his site? Do we know that?
I don't know, but for some reason, it's not coming up right. What have I done? I can't. I don't have the controls for it.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean it's.
And it.
Let's start over.
Yeah, I don't know what I've done to it. I don't know what I've done to it. I hate this. I hate technology. I really hate technology. All right, let me see if that helps. There's something wrong with
Can you
my
put your cursor over the area where the video is?
Yeah, but it won't let me. My controls are gone.
It doesn't
Hold
have like the
on.
play and the pause and those kind of things
No,
on it.
I
Yeah.
don't. I don't know what's going on. Let me. Maybe it's something to do with the setup I've got
We
going
might have to
here.
watch an evolution video.
uh, I don't know. Nope, that ain't even showing you. Um, I don't know. Let me try this one. Okay, there we go. Now I've got
There
my
you go.
control. All right.
Hated and most beloved book of all of history? The answer is one and the same, and that is the Holy Bible. Hold on, I've got my copy right here. This is my CSP Worldview Study
Oh,
Bible, but whatever version you have, I can tell you two things about it. The Bible is the most scrutinized, most belittled, slandered, opposed book in all of human history, in the history of mankind. It's the most examined. People have tried to poke the most holes in it. And yet, the second thing I can tell you is that this book has changed more lives than any other book, movie.
So I would agree that it probably is probably one of the most influential books. Um,
yeah, the most studied book, I would say. But,
yeah,
it's changed people's lives for maybe the good for some people and probably for the bad for some other people. It's not just a positive thing.
yeah. Adrian Belgrave is out there in the chat. No, it wasn't open panel. I might, Adrian, I'm let you come on after a while. I'll probably open up the panel after a while. Um, this guy has an ego. Yes, he does. But yeah,
Yeah.
it has.
Yeah.
It's changed. But and it has had a lot of holes poked in it, whether they like to admit it or not.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Talk, spoken word, piece of content ever created in history. It goes without saying. The Bible is the world's most influential book, and for good reason. Now, if you are a Christian, then you have to ask yourself, number one, why do people oppose the Bible when it's such a fantastic book? And number two, how do you respond when people do challenge the Bible?
Such a fantastic book.
It's such a
Yes.
fantastic book. I mean, there's like a real statement there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Like, oh,
I mean, I think it's
no.
very valuable. I mean, the Bible's valuable in terms of like studying mythology and that kind of thing, but I don't know if I'd call it fantastic.
Yeah. It's I think it's a mirror into human psychology.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it
And
tells
it
us about the culture back then when it was written, right? I mean,
yes.
so as a historical document, it's important as well. It's just in
Yeah.
today's world, um, trying to apply it to today's world can lead to problems.
Yes. A lot of problems. A lot.
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the reliability of the Bible. My name is Joel Sedekase. I am the president of the Think Institute. We're a Christian teaching and outreach organization aimed at helping you, the Christian man, to become the worldview leader your family and your church need you to be. And we are going to get into the defense of the Bible today, but we're also going to be talking about the definition of a word you've probably heard before, but you might not have, and that is apologetics. So let's start there. Let's start by talking about what apologetics is and why it matters, how it relates to the Bible, and then we're going to get into the reliability of this book. There are a lot of people nowadays who are claiming that in order to trust your Bible, you need the authoritative sign off from a church council or a church leader or a priest or a creed. And as we're going to see, the Bible actually authenticates itself. It is God's word. You do not need man's word to authenticate God's word.
Okay. Like I have so many problems with everything you said there.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Robin.
the first thing, if you notice the title, he calls himself a presuppositional apologist, which, you know, that right there is like, okay, there's no sense in trying to go into discovering the accuracy of the Bible if you already presuppose that it's true. Do you think?
Right, and presuppose that the God exists, that the Bible's based on.
Yes. And like, I mean, it claims to be the Word of God. Like, I mean, like, if you believe all the claims in it, and so like, I just don't, like, to me, to admit that you're a presuppositionist apologist is just like admitting that you don't care about what's true. Actually,
It's almost like you're trying to get yourself out of that. You're admitting it so you don't have to address that with people anymore. It's like, yeah, I admit I'm a pre-supper, and we're just going to have to accept that if we have a discussion. But it's
yeah,
like, yeah, people want to discuss why you're a pre-supper and why you have those beliefs in your particular God.
yeah. And if you notice, it's for Christian men. Doesn't say anything
Right.
about
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I was going to say maybe you shouldn't be watching this, Robin. This is for Christian men.
and apologetics is an issue anyway. Apologetics is defense is what, like, that's what it comes from, Latin word apologia, that means defend.
Hmm.
um, so apologetic apologists are just trying to figure out a way to defend the Bible. They're not
Yeah.
they're not actually studying it for accuracy or consistency or anything like that. They are taking what is written and they're trying to figure out a way to make it make sense in
Yeah.
today's world.
And I'd be curious to see if this guy chooses a particular version of the Bible or if he just glosses over that. Because, I mean, these versions are radically different from one another in some cases, right? I mean,
Yeah,
just in terms of the amount of the books that are in each one, the apocryphy or whatever these books are that are in some and not in others.
yeah. He mentioned it just a minute ago, and I can't remember what he said. Some kind of study Bible.
Oh,
Um,
oh, yeah, he did say something about that. I forget what he said though.
but it wasn't really one I recognized. From
Okay.
what I can what I get from scholars, the New Standard Revised Standard or whatever it is version is one of the like most accurate.
Based on the oldest texts, right?
Yeah, yeah, to the
Yeah.
original. Yeah, it's based on the oldest text to the original, most accurate to the original. And I'm going to buy me one of these days. They're expensive though. They're pretty expensive because I have to get the extra large print. I can't read
Oh,
it.
okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I probably could buy one on like one of the Bible Gateway or something like that app. It'd probably be cheaper than buying maybe a hard copy. But I've got a great big Bible, but it's old and it's my grandma's, so I don't use it. But I have just an NIV sitting here on my desk all the time. But
I have
that's
a
not.
Gideon Bible that I took out of a hotel room. And I don't know what version the Gideon Bible is, but yeah, there's no way I'm going to pay it. I'm going to pay for a
I love it.
Bible.
I love it. I order my books from Abe Books. It's Abe,
Oh, yeah,
like Abe Lincoln.
I know that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's where I buy all my books from. And like there's so, and like I bought these. These were all brand new, and I bought me and Joe and Ember all one. And
Oh,
I bought us the tabs that go on the books. For
right.
the books and everything, and bought us the tab. So if like Amber, she'll show hers like pretty often. She'll be like, "I've got this Bible that Robin Webster bought me."
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I bought us the tabs. She hadn't put her tabs in there last time she showed it, but I bought me and Joe and Amber all one. I didn't give. They were pretty cheap actually. The tabs
Have you
cost.
read the whole thing before?
No,
Yeah.
no. I never read any of the Bible until after I became an atheist.
I read the New Testament, and then I read Genesis and Exodus, and then I stopped there.
I never read any of it really, and I probably none of it. I know more about the Bible now than I ever did when I was a believer.
Yeah.
But we talk about it a lot, and I didn't have any use for
Right.
it. My mom
I mean,
has
if you-
read it probably 10 times over,
Wow.
and then she reads she is one of those people that reads Revelation a lot, which is just like I can't imagine trying to make sense of Revelation.
That's probably the best part of the Bible, I think, because it's poetry basically. That's the way I look at it. Is it's
Yeah, but she's
it's
trying to
supposed to be
figure out
metaphor.
what's going to happen with
I
it.
know that
Yeah.
sucks. That really sucks to think
Well, I
that
mean,
there's
yeah.
going to be like 7-headed dragons flying around.
In fact, I didn't read, and so after I became an atheist, and like I had very few talks with my mom about this, but we did get on a conversation one time about the Bible, and I asked her about the parts, where it talks about killing, everybody but the virgin, the
Yeah.
women who have not known man and stuff. And I said, why? Why is that in there? Why is this stuff in there? And instead of trying to explain why she thought it was in there, she said, I don't know. That's what she said.
That's honest.
And recently, we were in the car going to get our eye shots because we both get those shots in our eyes for our macular. And she was talking about there was some guy that they've got doing some yard work for him over there. And I can't remember the term he used, and I had never heard it, but it was something about the promises in the Bible or something. And she said that he asked her, do you accept these? Or do you accept, something
Prophecies?
about the Bible? It wasn't really prophecies. It was a term I'd never heard before.
Hmm.
But she said, he asked me if I accepted it. And she said, I told him I accept part of the Bible. That's what she said. So,
I wonder which part.
well,
Maybe the
I
New
mean,
Testament.
like it's the parts that don't have anything to do with, like the parts that don't have anything to do with, like keeping the virgins for yourself, I'm sure.
Right.
I thought that was kind of funny. So
That
maybe
is funny.
I've never asked Mom, but obviously she does not think that the Bible is inerrant. That's not her position on it.
Yeah.
We just can't talk about it very much because she gets pretty upset. So,
When we're talking about like the evolution, creation stuff, really you just have to have read Genesis. I mean, that's the only part that really matters to that topic.
well,
The
I
rest
have a
of it-
video. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
video coming up in the list of things that I'm going to do. How about the Bible proves evolution, and it's by Christians.
Ooh,
It's an
like
interpretation.
Christians.
Yeah. It says that the Genesis story actually explains evolution.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting how they twist around that.
Oh, I want to be part of that one if possible.
Yeah, I will. I will get you on here. But yeah, it's interesting how people interpret it so different. Of course, Jill says it interprets itself, which is pretty much what this guy just said. So I'm not sure why he's even doing streams if it interprets itself.
Yeah.
Give me God's word over man's word any day of the week. Now, if you like this episode and you want to take your learning further, you need to know about what we're doing to help revolutionize the way that Christian men interact with their faith. We want to help you get more equipped
Oh, he's
to lead
gonna
your
sell
family,
something.
answer any objection, to share
Yeah.
and defend your faith. And I'll tell you more about what we're doing to help you do exactly that after the episode. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right, so what is apologetics? Let's talk about that. Apologetics is the discipline of defending the truth of the Christian message. We are not interested in talking about
Can you pause it? Sorry, Robin.
likelihood that
Yeah.
The discipline of
Yeah.
defending the truth of the Christian message. So it's automatically presupposing that it's true, doesn't it? Based on this?
Yes. Well, I mean, that's what
Yeah,
he is, a priest. Yeah.
right. I mean,
A
he can't
priest.
even write an honest question about it, or what the honest definition of it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that. What do you think? You just said a definition of apologetics that was, I think, better than this.
Apologia. Yeah. Apologia is it was used like in Greek and in ancient Greece, when they would have, like in court, a trial. And so if you were on the defense of a proposition, you were the apologia. So it means defend. That's what it means.
Yeah.
And so an apologist is,
So that part's accurate.
yeah, that just comes from the Latin meaning of the word.
It should be the discipline of defending your interpretation of the Christian message. I mean, that's what I would think would be more accurate.
Yeah, yeah, yes, it is. That's what it is. Yeah, it's like, it didn't have anything to do, like, and I don't know how the word apologize got made out of that word,
Yeah.
but apologia, um, is the actual root word, and it means to defend. So, which is why apologia, the
Yeah.
streamer got his
Right.
name.
That Christianity is true or the reasonableness of Christianity. We're not interested even in the emotional satisfaction that Christianity brings. We want to know the certainty. That is what apologetics is concerned with, the certainty. Certainty is different from confidence. Confidence is a psychological state that a person has when he feels like very certain, or I used the wrong word, very, very assured that something is true. Certainty is actually not a psychological attribute. Certainty is the proposition, is an attribute of a proposition when it cannot fail to be true. When something is certain, it is absolutely true. It is beyond the shadow of a doubt. Now, you might not always be confident about certain principles, but the principles are certain nonetheless. And
Okay, see, there's all kinds of problems with that. I'm gonna throw Travis Pangburn has a, saying that I've adopted, that certainty is almost certainly unattainable. And like, after spending time around Travis and his, philosophy, I have come to understand and believe wholeheartedly that certainty is one of the greatest sources of suffering.
Yeah.
Um,
I would
human
agree with
caused
you there.
suffering. Yeah, like, human caused suffering in the world, and it has been for thousands and thousands of years.
You
when
can't
we
be
think,
certain by labeling something as certain. You're basically saying that you have the truth, and you don't. I mean, you can't be. The human mind can't be certain of anything, really.
yeah, because, like, well, I mean, the thing about it is, solipsism is a problem. Um, is something that we've never, like, we can, solipsism in philosophy is sort of like seen as, you know you can't resolve the problem of solipsism, which, nobody has yet anyway, because you can never be certain that anybody else even exists, that you're just not a brain in the vat, and
Right. Right.
that you're imagining it, or all these other people exist in your head, and, like, you can't debunk it, or nobody has
Yeah.
been able to debunk it yet. So, like, he's ignoring all of philosophy, actually, is what he's doing. He's just, and I think he's training people, like, these people that have this mindset, you can't reason with them because they're not interested. He's, like he said by go, he's not interested in the accuracy or the truth of the thing, of delving into that. He just, um,
He
he's
thinks
certain.
he's certain. Yeah. He
Yeah.
thinks that he has nailed it. And to me, I'm just going to throw this out there, but the world is changing from moment to moment to moment, and everything's in a state of flux. And so you can't be certain of anything because that's pinning something down to a space and time. And I just think it's a really, and I like the way you described it, that it causes a lot of harm and suffering,
It does.
because people concentrate, like this guy thinks he's got all the right answers about the universe.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's a young earth creationist or not. I'd be real curious to hear
Yes, I think so.
sometime, but yeah.
He's a creationist. I don't know if he's young Earth, but I think he is. Yeah. Yeah. So what he's doing is he's building a community of people who won't even be able to discuss like the Bible. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that he's doing it because there has been so many holes poked, and people are
Oh yeah.
because he gets into that in a little while about how many people have left the church and stuff. So
Oh, okay.
when somebody has this mindset right here, you can't have conversations with them about it because it's Darth Dawkins. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
We want to define and defend certainty of Christianity. And for us as Christians, it all comes back to this book. This is the book that we are interested in defending and the certainty thereof. Now, the word apologetics comes from this verse, 1 Peter 3:15. But in your hearts, honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. This word, apologetics, comes from the Greek word for defense, which means to, which is apologia. It's the Greek word for the thing that you would give when you would go into court. If someone were going to haul you into court and say, answer these charges, are you guilty of this? You would give your apologia, and that is your defense. So that is what we are interested in giving for the certain truth of the Christian message. All right, now, apologetics is needed today. Why is that? Why do we need apologetics in America today? Well, it's because of the sad state of affairs. Right now, in America, only 4% have a biblical worldview. 66% of high school graduates who attended a Protestant church for at least 1 year during high school leave the church after high school. Of those who leave, 50% come back, but that still leaves a massive number of church-going youth who leave the faith and never come back. Today in America, 200 million people are disconnected from the church, meaning they are unchurched. And today, America is the 4th largest unchurched nation in the world. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think about unchurched nations, I'm thinking
Can
of China.
you
I'm thinking,
can you go back and show that again, Robin? That
yeah,
yeah. Um, so 4% have a biblical worldview. I mean, Islam is a biblical worldview. I mean, they believe that the Old Testament is true and that Jesus was a prophet. I mean, they definitely have a right.
yeah. Well,
Um,
they think that the Hebrew Bible has been corrupted, but yeah, they like much of it they consider accurate. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would still say they have a biblical worldview. So I don't think he's counting those Islam in there, or probably even Judaism. But and then 66% leave the church after high school. Um,
After they get
right.
out of the parents' home, and
Right,
they don't.
exactly. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. They develop their own, you know, thinking skills, and they say, "Well, I'm not having this anymore. I'm not buying this anymore."
I mean, I don't know where he got these numbers.
I don't, yeah, I don't.
He doesn't ever give any kind of like. I would question the 200 million
Right, what
unchurched.
does unchurched mean? I mean, you can be a Christian and not go to church at all.
Yeah, yeah, like Miss Maud.
Right. I
You know,
mean, she's as much a Christian as anybody else, right? But
I think she's as good a
um,
Christian as there is. Actually, most time, yeah. She's one of my favorite Christians, probably.
she's the best.
Well, I mean, she doesn't spread hatred and shit based on
No, she
her.
spreads joy. I mean,
Yeah. So, And the fourth largest unchurched nation. I don't know. I don't know about. Like I said, I don't know where he got these statistics.
Sweden, Norway, Denmark. I mean, I would think there's three right there that are
But
probably,
they're not near as large as we are.
yeah,
Like we are like one of the largest nations. So like
right, right. I don't know
it's,
what they're saying there. Yeah, that's a weird stat.
yeah, it's a very weird stat, and I don't know where he got it. He doesn't. I don't think.
1 year during high school leave the church after high school. Of those who leave, 50% come back, but that still leaves a massive number of church-going youth who leave the faith and never come back. Today in America, 200 million people are disconnected from the church, meaning they are unchurched. And today, America is the fourth largest unchurched nation in the world. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think about unchurched nations, I'm thinking of China. I'm thinking of Iran. Those are actually two countries where the church is growing the most rapidly. In America, at least for the last several decades, it's been going in the opposite direction. The church has been shrinking. Church attendance has been shrinking. Religious participation has been shrinking. There seems to be some signs that is leveling off.
I commented this was what I call progress.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing.
That's what I think. And here's the thing about it is at the time of our founding, 98% of all citizens, or people who lived in what we get now is now America, the 13 colonies, 98% were Christian. But there was a very small number, because I did all this
Your debate.
my debate. A very small number of those people actually attended church. It was very small. They considered themselves Christians of some, enough to say they were Christian, but 98%. So,
Yeah,
because that's where a lot of people want to say that we are a Christian nation, and we are a nation. We have always been a nation, with a lot of Christians. I mean,
yeah.
and I would say
Like
that
Europe.
we actually were a Protestant nation, if anything else, because the 13 colonies primarily were Protestant.
Right.
We didn't get the Catholic. We didn't have as many
Well,
Catholics
later, till the Irish and the
until
Italians.
the Irish immigration came in too, which is why, I don't know if people know this or not. The KKK, everybody thinks that it was totally just about African Americans, but the KKK hated Catholics
Yeah, yeah,
as much as they did. In fact, that they committed as much violence against Catholics as they did against African Americans. Once you
right.
get into studying their history, which is really weird. For some reason, I
It's
never
a
figured
really
out.
weird history because, it started, I think it was Nathan Bedford Forrest after the Civil War, but then it kind of went through a hiatus at a certain point, and then somebody picked it up like in Indiana or one of these kind of
Yes,
Midwestern states, and then that's when it started to flourish again. Um,
yes.
and maybe I don't know if that was like the 20s or the 30s, maybe more than that, more than I.
I think it was the 20s.
Yeah, something like that.
You can go to the Rest is History channel on YouTube, and Tom and them they've got like a 5 or 6 part series on the KKK. They're really good. That's one of my favorite channels. If anybody
Interesting.
doesn't watch the Rest is History, it is so good. It's Tom Holland, who is a historian. He's written books about Christianity, um, and then Dominique. I can't think of what Dominique's last name is, but it's one of my favorite channels. But they have like a whole big 5 part series on on the KKK. They go through all of its transformation and everything.
Interesting.
Yeah, I suggest anybody watch that channel, subscribe to that channel. It's a great channel.
Perhaps reverse true, but for the time being, we are a very unchurched nation. And so what that means is that millions of our neighbors are living without a relationship with God, without meaning and purpose in the absolute sense, without the everlasting hope that comes from knowing the Lord Jesus Christ. They don't have forgiveness of sins.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I hate this. I hear this, you know, that if you're an atheist, you don't have any meaning and purpose.
Yes.
And you have as much meaning and purpose as you want to have, right? I mean, it's just real meaning and purpose to people that are in your own life. Um, and for yourself, it's for your own self-development and your own evolution through life. But I just hate that evolution says that you have no meaning or purpose.
Jill is out in the.
Oh God.
Hello. Jill's out. Look, Jill said the original 13 colonists were Calvinists and MAGA.
And yeah, that's funny. That's hilarious.
It's good to see everybody. I see Adrian out there again, and I see Scam Chan, Music Vibes. Good to see you. It's good to see you, Jill, and Scott from the Mirror Point. I haven't been watching chat, and Dane, and I see Resist is out there too. So that's who I see right now. So
And
hey, everybody.
Robin, this thing about having everlasting hope. How can somebody have everlasting means for all time, doesn't it? Or
I would think so. Yeah.
isn't it everlasting? This guy has everlasting.
Yeah.
I think he spelled
Everlasting.
that wrong. He spelled that wrong.
Everlasting.
Right.
Everlasting.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about this thing of
Oh, I think
we're living without these things?
yeah, I don't like. I think that everybody lives without a relationship with God because I
Right.
don't think God exists. I don't think anybody. The meaning and purpose that's an issue. I actually think that if you are Christian or any other religion actually that worships a God, that your meaning and purpose is I don't know what it is. I mean,
It's the exact same as what our meaning and purpose is as atheists. I mean,
except for you think that this is just a place for you to wipe your feet before you go into heaven.
right. You think that there's this other world and stuff, but really your meaning and purpose is the exact same as the atheist meaning and purpose. It's, your relationships with people, with your family and your friends and with animals. And then, the forgiveness of sins. I don't believe there is any such thing as a sin. So I don't think you need forgiveness of something that doesn't exist.
Yeah. And I think the only, like, if you harm somebody, if you do something wrong to somebody, you should ask their forgiveness. I don't think that,
Right.
I hate the idea that I can wrong somebody and I can go to another person, a third party, and get forgiveness of that without having to speak to the person I wronged.
Yeah, I agree.
They are without the Lord, and this is not a good thing. We want to bring them Jesus Christ. We want to lead them to the cross of Jesus Christ. And so that is why Christians who believe that the biggest answers to life are found in the Bible, we need to be bringing people to the Bible. We need to be defending the Bible. We need to be investigating the Bible together with people. We need to be telling them about what a wonderful book it is and the message of the Bible and the gospel message. So that's what we're going to do. And then, so the question then is, can we actually?
Okay, I would say that, like, I don't know why Christians didn't just throw out the Old Testament, actually.
Right. That's a good point. It's like there is no one message of the Bible.
No.
The Old Testament has a completely different message than the New Testament. And
Yeah.
you can't tie them together in any rational way. The gods of the two are completely different. They have completely different characters.
Yes. Yeah, I think so too. I think that, it's pretty obvious that that's like God. If God exists and he had anything to do with the Bible, he changed his morality.
Right.
Somewhat, yeah. Um, so I don't know. It doesn't. To me it doesn't. But it isn't one message. It isn't one just one
No.
message. Hello, Behe. I see you out there. Blessed
Oh.
be. Am I blocked? She said. No, you're not blocked.
I
Don't
hope
get
so.
blocked.
I'm
Don't get
just
blocked either.
kidding.
Actually trust the Bible? Is the Bible actually reliable? Because what people will say is, like this fellow, the Bible is a bunch of fairy tales. It's no different from any other holy book, and it's been changed over time. How would you
Can
respond to this challenge?
I'm sorry,
What would you say?
Robin.
No.
So I would say just calling the Bible a bunch of fairy tales is really minimizing what's going on in the Bible. And that, I think that the myths in the Bible that we can see, and they're tied to other myths that were in that region at the time. I think that those are pretty important to be able to study, and I wouldn't just call them fairy tales. I think they actually do have um, messages attached to them that we can interpret. Um, as far as being different from any other holy book, you know, I like the holy books that come out of Hinduism and Buddhism much more than I like any of the Abrahamic books. Um, I don't know if you've looked at those before.
No, I haven't. The Bhagavad Gita or whatever. Is that one of them? Are you talking about?
Yeah, yeah. The Upanishads, the Dhammapada. I mean, there's all sorts of them, and they're for me, their messages and stuff are far more meaningful than what's in the Bible.
I think I actually have a video saved to do on Hinduism, or maybe it's Buddhism, one of them. So I do have something. I was planning on covering some of them.
Well, I'd
So
like to be present for the Buddhism one.
yeah,
You
I
could
was
you could
definitely
get
going to ask.
Diamond Dave for the Hinduism.
Yeah, maybe I can. Yeah, is he? I knew he
He's in
was
Mongolia.
okay, but he is a Hindu.
Yes,
Okay,
and he's a real easygoing guy.
yeah, he's over there and getting along with Steven and them really good. So yeah, but yeah, I didn't know if he I didn't know if he was a former one or if he was
No, he's
still one.
currently he's currently Hindu.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So no, I don't think it's fairy tales. I think that there is. I mean, like I think there's a lot of stuff in it that's exaggerated or made up, but not a fairy tale.
I
Like
mean, there's some history in there, I would imagine. Probably as you get beyond like David and Solomon, there's probably some history there. But Genesis and Exodus are not history; they're purely mythology. I
yes,
think.
yes, I do too. And even the you know most of
New Testament.
the Jewish people agree with that. But like when
Oh
we
yeah,
go, the thing about it is, I think that you have to go to like seminary and study this stuff. Hold on just a minute. I've got somebody come to talk. I'm
Would you
on.
immediately start getting into the evidence? Would you tell them that they're a dumb idiot? Would you tell them, well, that's just like your opinion, man? Or you
Yeah.
got your view and, who's to say? Well, I think we can do a little bit better than that. In fact, I know we can. Again, we want to defend the certainty of the truth of the Christian message. So what I want to do is I'm going to present a number of arguments in favor of the absolute truth of the Bible. And I will say we're going to get into more evidence than perhaps we have in the past. Let me rephrase that, because we've definitely gotten into evidence before on this, with the Think Institute Worldview Legacy. But what we are going to do is we're going to get into more evidence than perhaps a lot of presuppositional apologists are comfortable with. And the first thing we're going to look at is the unity of the Bible. The unity of the Bible. Let's talk about that. What is that referring to? Okay, so you know that the Bible is not just one book. The Bible is actually a library of 66 different books written by about 40 authors in 3 different languages. On most of the authors didn't know each other. They lived over a period of 1,500 years, and yet the Bible tells one single cohesive story with 0 true contradictions, all telling
Robin, can you
one
pause it for a second?
single solitary message: the true story of God's plan to save his people by sending his son into the world.
Oh, I think she's gone.
So the Bible is remarkably consistent.
So he just said that the Bible was written over 1,500 years. Isn't that quite an exaggeration? Robin, are you there?
The what?
Yeah, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. I've got somebody coming in. So hold on just a minute.
Okay. Maybe somebody in the chat can let me know how long. I mean, the New Testament was written before like 100 CE, and then wasn't the rest of the Bible written after 1000 BCE?
Yeah, I'm back now. I think that like there's a whole bunch of
1500 is an exaggeration, I think.
yeah, it's a bunch of different times, and like there's a contested parts of it, you know, on it. Some of the stories are older than, but then some of
Right.
them are
Yeah.
like I think that a whole lot of the Old Testament was written like during the Babylon
The
exile.
captivity in Babylon, yeah.
Yeah,
And after the captivity,
yeah,
so during and after, I think when the vast majority of the Old Testament was written. And,
yeah.
you know, I'm trying to think of what year that was. Was it like,
Maybe like
it was
600
earlier
something
than,
or
yeah, that's what I
300.
was going to say, 600 BCE, right?
Yeah, 600 to 300 or something like that. There was from what I so far, of course, I haven't done a whole lot of studying on it, but I have some. There were during the, at that time there was 2 kingdoms. You know, there was two like there was the upper kingdom and the lower kingdom,
Yeah.
and they wrote the Old Testament to kind of like bring a unified message of the people together. You know,
Like the
and
Canaanites or was it Judah? Um, I'm trying to think of what those kingdoms are called.
but they wanted the unified message, so they want
Yeah,
that's why there's 2 creation stories in
right.
Genesis, from what I understand, is because that one kingdom had you know the one story and the other one had the other story, um, and they changed a lot of stuff. Like there was a lot of things that um, I think there were even women that were involved in the temples up until that period, and then after they wrote this message here, the Old Testament, they could unify the people, so they would have like a common story, a common history.
Right.
Yeah, and this is I mean, like it's hard to study this stuff because we don't have a lot of it that survived, and a lot of it was oral tradition instead of but it always find it interesting when Christians insert Jesus into the Old Testament. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they'll even go so far as saying Jesus created the universe, you know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. It's really weird the way they do that sometimes. And sorry, y'all, I had somebody just come in the back door there that I wasn't expecting. So, and she was like using my phone trying to call, and it was coming across on there and everything. So,
It is outstanding in its unity. It is unprecedented. It is the only work that I am aware of that spans this vast swath of history and yet has this kind of unity. not aware of anything else like it. Maybe you are. You can let me know. I don't think there is anything else like the Bible. Not written by so many authors over so much time, so many different languages. So the Bible bears the marks of having been written by God. It's unified. It has although it has 40 different.
It's unified. No, it's not unified. No.
And it doesn't cover a big swath of history. Even if we were to grant that it was 1,500 years, think of the history of life on the planet. I mean, that's our history. It's not just the history of when there were civilizations in the Near East or what have you. I mean, even human history goes back hundreds of thousands of years, right? So, the Bible does not cover, I don't think, a big swath of history. Of course, I mean, it does have a creation account, but the creation account doesn't even look like what the Big Bang model is.
Hey,
Different
B, I was going
authors.
to
The
say,
Bible
hold on
has
a minute. B, I timed you out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, she was talking about you out there. She said that you were a.
Oh,
Let's see,
that's
what was
okay.
it? Yeah, no, I know, but
I
like
like
she's
when
not
she
really
talks about I like when she talks about me.
a massive squanderer.
Really? Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, oh my!
You don't have to time her out because of it. Yeah, don't time her out because of me.
But I just gave her a minute.
Oh, okay.
one single divine author. And that's really important because we do believe that the Bible is breathed out by God. So we're talking about the unity of the Bible. Now let's get into the accuracy of the Bible. The Bible is remarkably accurate. The Bible calls God our creator. And as it turns out, the design that we see in nature is exactly what you would expect if the Bible were true. The human body is perfectly designed. All of the systems work so well together. The heart, the lungs, and the kidneys all work perfectly together. We see
Okay, so this is his evidence of the accuracy of the Bible. I mean, like nothing he's saying here shows any accuracy of the Bible. It's not evidence of any accuracy of the Bible. And the human body, as we all know, is not designed perfectly.
Right. And so what? They observed the water cycle. Who cares? I mean, they observed that clouds formed and then it rained, and then the rain went into rivers that went into the ocean, and then more clouds came by and dropped more rain. I mean, that's just a observation. But you notice he leaves out the creation account that's in the Bible because that bears no resemblance to reality. And my favorite example of that is, trees being created before the sun was created.
Yes, yes. Well, I
He
mean, like
doesn't.
look at
He leaves those things out, right?
yes, and like the water cycle. Okay, even though they try to say that we know how much water is in the water table, um, and they come up with a flood story that like where a bunch of extra water comes from that's not in the water cycle. You know, and they
True.
try like
It,
they let's see, either it's over us in a dome froze or it's
or it's in
it's
the
in,
cave. It's in
it
the
or
caves, in the fountains
yeah,
of the deep,
yeah,
broke
and like
underground caves open, and
yeah, and our
um,
the core of our planet is made of molten iron, mostly. So like it would just you know no water, no liquid water is going to survive. The
yeah.
closer it is to the core of the Earth, and the
The inner core
goodness of
is the inner core is solid. It's the
yeah.
outer core that's pure liquid.
Oh, okay. And then all the goodness of God's design. Okay, let's see: hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes,
Cancer.
volcanoes, cancer. Yes,
I mean,
yes.
the
I saw a
laws of
picture.
nature. Look, he says the laws of nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you be more specific? I mean,
Oh well, he's talking about like they think that like the laws of nature, like they think those are prescriptive laws. You know, like the
like gravity.
like gravity, and then even into like the laws of identity and stuff like that. They think that all that is prescriptive stuff that God wrote, other rather than just our observations, and we call them laws.
Mm.
Yeah, God's up there making this law. But I saw a meme once, and it was a picture of like one of those rams, the big horned sheep or whatever, that has the big curly
Yeah.
horns, and the ram's horn had curled all the way around and came back in the side of the ram's head on one side,
Oh.
and it growed up like that, and of course it killed the ram.
Oh.
That is the goodness of God's design.
Right.
That's what the meme said. Like, you know what I mean? Like the goodness of God's design. It was like, I mean, its own horns growed in such a way that it killed the sheep. So,
And you notice he puts the design of the human body like that just popped out of nowhere. That there weren't simpler systems in the past for like sight or
yeah,
different functions of the body. It all just popped into existence in the human body.
yeah, exactly. ABS, I see you out there.
ABS.
Yeah, I'm trying to see who else I've missed out there. No. There's 18 people, it says, or 15. So,
Well, I'm
Amazing
I'm
design in the
sorry to all
laws
the
of nature,
Christians.
even the water cycle. All of it shows the goodness of God's design. We clearly live in a world that was designed by the God of the Bible. The Bible calls God a God of order, not of disorder. He is benevolent. He is kind. He created this world for us to live in, and created not only our bodies, but our minds, so that we would be able to function in this world and constantly unveil new secrets, knowledges, and really live and thrive in the world he's created.
I mean, I just feel like that he just is like I said, he's just ignoring all of the parts of the Bible that are not kind.
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
things that God has done according to the Bible that are not kind. Or
And he's ignoring those parts of nature that don't fit into his little, God's goodness or perfect order. I mean, there's disorder too, right? I mean,
yes,
order comes out of disorder oftentimes.
and it's physics,
Yeah.
just physics, and like okay, the Bible stories are true history. But he's
Oh,
got
God.
like
Like,
okay,
where's his
no,
evidence of that?
I mean no, like if you're gonna say that the Bible is completely true, then you're setting yourself up for failure for this. Like because we know that Genesis, like we know a lot of the stories have been shown to not be true.
Literally true. They're not. Yeah, they're not literal history.
And then he has archaeologists are always making new discoveries. Yes, we are discovering all the time stuff that is wrong with the Bible.
Right, and their discoveries always fit into the framework of what has been discovered before, for the most part.
Yes.
We're not discovering uh, Apache arrowheads in the Precambrian layers, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And we haven't, but and the thing about it is like we go over there and they've been trying to find evidence of the Exodus, and they can't.
They can't. Yeah,
No, I mean there's no evidence of
that's
it,
where the
and
Ron Wyatt stuff
even
comes in.
yeah, even the Jewish scholars admit there's no evidence of it. It's yeah,
Created is scientifically accurate. The Bible is also historically accurate. They are always coming up with these new archaeological discoveries. So on the top left, you can see the pool of Siloam. That's where Jesus healed a man. They've uncovered this. It's a real place. There on the top right is the Tel Dan Stele mentioning the house of David. David really did exist. He is authenticated by history, or I should say corroborated by history, authenticated by the Bible. And then
I don't know about that pool thing. I think David did exist. I think that isn't that the or what? I think
He
they
was a
found it.
tribal chieftain, right? If anything, he was a tribal chieftain. He did not have the what's laid out in the Bible is that he was this major, they had this
Yes,
major empire, and it just wasn't so. So he might have been a tribal chieftain or something like that.
I think they
And
found
so
a
just because it's a real
tablet.
person, though, doesn't mean that those things that happened to that person in the book were real events.
Yes, like I think they found a stone that has like David's name on it or something. I've read recently. So yeah, he wasn't over as big an empire though as what the Bible makes out. But yeah, it's like the like who is it brings this up all the time? Abraham Lincoln. There's a book. It's Forrest. Forrest always talks about Abraham Lincoln, the vampire hunter. It has a
Right,
lot.
right.
It has a lot of information about Abraham Lincoln and how about his wife, his kids, and everything. And yeah, and but that doesn't mean that Abraham Lincoln hunted vampires or that vampires are real.
Right.
Even though there is some accurate information about Abraham Lincoln in the book. So
Hezekiah's tunnel, which was a secret tunnel which would supply Jerusalem while the city was under siege. You can read about that in the Bible, and you can actually go and visit Hezekiah's tunnel. So the Bible is consistently vindicated by archaeology. And
no,
this is exactly what you would expect. Not only is the Bible a unified book, but it's not just a book of teachings. It is a book of actual factual history. And so the historical record we would expect to corroborate the Bible. Other holy texts don't have that same kind of so-called holy texts, like the Book of Mormon. They don't have
I mean, like you can say that, you can say all that, and you're ignoring every bit of actual evidence that disagrees with you.
Right. I mean, talk about ignoring all the archaeological evidence. I mean, what about the archaeological evidence of, cave paintings that are tens of thousands of years old? Um, that's actual archaeological evidence. And so his statement that all the archaeological evidence supports a literal interpretation of the Bible is hogwash.
Yeah, yeah, it is utter bullocks, as the British would say, utter bullocks. you know, and like he showed no. I mean, he made that claim, and he showed no evidence at all of
He
anything
hasn't showed
working.
any evidence yet for anything. I mean,
No, no, just like
granted,
just
we're just on his first claim, I think, but
well, no, like he's already said that it's scientifically accurate.
yeah, yeah.
No, like it definitely. If anything, we can verify the fact that it's not scientifically accurate. We know that um, we've figured out how the universe pretty much our version of the universe pretty much began, and we pretty much came up with how life arose and how we evolved. So
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a small gap to stick God in there, and it doesn't match the story of the Bible. But this is cope, and it's just like he's preparing people just to say, That's all. That's all they're doing.
have that same kind of historical reliability. So now let's talk about the uniqueness of the Bible. The Bible is a unique book in its message. And we can contrast the Bible's message with man-made religions. For man-made religion, it's up to you. Do these things and perhaps you might be saved. A lot of man-made religions won't even tell you that you're going to go to heaven or reach nirvana or enlightenment. But what they'll say is, here's a path, walk in it, and maybe you'll do enough to achieve a higher form of reincarnation in your next life. Or maybe you'll reach enlightenment at some point in your cycle. Or perhaps God will accept what you do. But we don't know how many good works you need to do. Just do as many as you can, and hopefully it will be enough. Now you contrast that with biblical religion, the Bible's message. The Bible's message says, Jesus did it for you. Believe and you will be saved. It is finished. That's what Jesus Christ called out on the cross.
Okay. I think all religions are man-made. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much what I would say. And you can't use the Bible to prove the Bible. There, Joel.
Well, and some Christians will admit that they don't know what happens if they're really saved or not until after they die. And then there's others like this guy saying, yeah, he knows that he's saved and he knows he's going to heaven. So there's not even a consensus among Christians about that, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think that he's referring somewhat back to maybe even Catholics with what he's saying here, because in the Catholics you have the works
Right, right.
that are part of your salvation, and then in the Protestant you just do the
He's once
believe.
saved, always saved, right? I mean, this
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. So so there's no works. I kind of like the idea that you have to do some works too, not just believe. But I think they're both false. So
Right. And his basically summarized Eastern religion saying, it's up to you, do this and you might be saved. Well, that word saved doesn't have any meaning in Buddhism, for example. There's,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe enlightenment is a better term for what they are experiencing, but he's using Christian terms to describe those religions.
BS once had a question. Said, "Is there any other fact that depends on you believing it in order to make it true?" Not that I can think of. BS. Not that I can think of. That's pretty funny. Yeah.
It is finished. You can read about that in John 19:30. Scripture elsewhere says that God took the record of our sin and nailed it to the cross. In other words, when Jesus says it is finished, it's as if he's shouting out from the cross. When he says tetelestai, it means it is finished. It's as if he's saying paid in full. In fact, the word tetelestai was a Greek word that means it is finished, but actually was used to mean paid in full.
Okay. If our sins are paid in full, then why can we still go to hell?
Why would we still even sin? Yeah. And why would we go to
Yeah.
hell?
Yeah, but why? Like, why is that? The more I think about it, the less sense it makes that Jesus, died for our sins, but we still sin, and we still can go to hell according to them. So, what exactly did Jesus do?
Right. There was no change. I mean, the humans underwent no change from before Jesus to after Jesus.
Yeah,
Because even the Christians sin based on their own definition.
yeah, yeah. So, like if he had paid for our sins, then if he had paid for my sins, then I shouldn't be able to go to hell. Like my sins should not send me to hell. It doesn't. I don't. Doesn't make it. It just seems like to me that Jesus gave up a good weekend for really not anything.
Oh.
And I don't know that I believe that Jesus even thought any of this shit was what was going on anyway, because Jesus was a Jew, not a
I would
Christian.
really be aghast at what people have made of him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, according to Jesus, you're supposed to keep all of the laws of Moses.
Yeah, that's
Only
true.
until Paul came along did he suddenly decide that you didn't have to do that. But which is why I think they should call themselves Paulianites instead of Christians. Paul, yeah,
Paulians? Aren't they Paulians?
Paulians. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it should be Paulians because that's who they listen to. Because Paul spread like a totally different message than Jesus, I think. So, but for some reason they trust what Paul said, who we don't even know if he was real. So, I
Well,
don't
and
know.
Jesus and Paul never even mentioned like Jesus' ministry, I don't think, did he? Um, I mean,
Yeah, well, he
he
never knew
had
him.
basically a dream about Jesus when he was walking on the road, but he never met him. um, I don't know if he knew the disciples or not, but I don't think he mentioned anything about Jesus' history.
Well, there are some of the disciples that he supposedly argued with, like Pete. Was it Peter?
Hmm.
Like, um, but I don't know. But yeah, he never met Jesus though, and it's really weird that. I mean, Paul is who created Christianity. Like, he is the reason that we have
Right.
Christianity. If or it seems like from that story, I mean, like he's if this
Yeah, and the
person
fact that
exists,
the Romans adopted it and spread it all over the place.
yes, yes. And there was many Christianities though too. If you go watch
Right.
Bart Ehrman has a series on the Christianities following Jesus's,
So many
res-
different churches all over um,
yeah,
Egypt, the Near East,
yeah.
Greece.
And you had the Gnostics and the Marcion. There's just like all of these different
Right.
Christianities, and this. So yeah, it's a mess, and it's hard to figure it all out because we don't have a whole lot of stuff that has been, kept to where we can study it. But we can all see how fast religions can grow. I mean, we know that like
Mormonism.
Scientology has been invented in my lifetime,
Right.
and there's people that believe it, and we know he invented it. Like he wrote a book, like a sci-fi book first about it. So really weird.
So Jesus exclaims from the cross that our sins have been paid, that the victory has been won, and that is a message that is unlike man-made religion. There is actually, as a matter of fact, there is only one other religion that teaches a form of grace through faith for salvation. It's a form of Pure Land Buddhism. It's a type of Buddhism, and what it says, it was developed 1,200 years after Christ, and it says that we are saved, quote unquote, by a form of just merely believing. But here's the thing: Buddhism doesn't even have a god. Really, Buddhism is actually
So did you know about that?
A little bit. I mean, he's saying that that particular branch of Buddhism was founded after Christianity, but it's like, yeah, but Buddhism had been around 600 odd years before Jesus even lived, before Christianity. And it's possible that Buddhism even impacted those guys who were writing the Bible, writing the New Testament. But
Oh
um,
yeah, definitely.
apart from that, yeah, I don't, I'd have to look that up, the Pure Land Buddhism, and check it out.
a religion, and the founder of this form of Pure Land Buddhism definitely did not live a perfect life, did not die on the cross for our sins, so did not pay for our sins. He says just believe, and we're supposed to just take it on blind faith that what he says is true. Contrast that with Jesus Christ, who died for our sins, was buried, and was raised to life on the third day, authenticating his claims. And he also
And we're supposed to take on blind faith.
Right. I mean, look how he just rolled that all out there. Oh, yeah, he rose on the third day.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, well, where's your evidence that people could be raised from the dead and
Well,
that he was God, that he created the universe, that somehow he was Yahweh. He and Yahweh are one. I mean, he
yeah.
just rolls these one out after another. Um, I mean, he's not making this video for you and I. I mean, he's making it for people that already believe, right?
Yes, presuppositionalist. That's like, yeah,
Or he's trying to bring people back into the church who are thinking about leaving, I guess.
I guess. I mean, because he hasn't showed any evidence for any claim he's made so far.
No,
did it over a millennium before Pure Land Buddhism. So there really is no comparison. There really is no contrast. There is a vast contrast, rather, between the message of the Bible and the message of man-made religion. Man-made religion says, do this. Jesus says, I will do this for you. You can't do this. I'll do it for you. So that's the uniqueness of the Bible. What else can we look at? We can look at the preservation of the Bible. Remember, the Bible was written over a period of 1,500 years, and yet it is remarkably well preserved. And this is a question that you're going to get a lot. Is the Bible that we have today accurate to what was originally written? People want to know this, and atheists, skeptics, agnostics, Mormons, Muslims, Jehovah's Witnesses, they want to know, and they will challenge the trustworthiness and the reliability of the Bible, because what they'll say is the Bible's been altered. I remember seeing a debate between a Christian apologist and a Eastern mystic guru, and the guru tried to challenge the apologist by saying that we are on the 19th different iteration of the Bible. The Bible has been translated and retranslated so many times, there's no possible way that we can actually know what was in the Bible. Furthermore, remember that the Bible is written, not only is it written over 1,500 years, but it's a collection of 66 different books.
Okay. We can trace back to what was originally in the Bible a lot better than what we can trace back to what was originally in the texts that are in the Bible. Like, after the Bible was,
we don't even know any of the authors of the Bible, really.
no. And we don't have any copies of the original text.
text. Right.
Not one book, not one copy of the original text. All we have is copies. And the oldest copies, they're still, like, most of them are partial.
Yeah.
I think, like, Bart Ehrman does a thing where he goes there and tells how many just textual mistakes there are, like where scribes, But the thing about it is whether they're accurate to the original or not, they're still just claims.
Yeah. And, not only do we not know the authors, the fundamentalist Christians will say that the people in the Bible were the authors. Moses wrote Genesis, or part of Genesis. Even Ken Hovind says that Adam wrote part of it. And he's got all these different, that there were like a bunch of different authors, but he names them off in terms of like these characters in Genesis. Methuselah wrote this part. Noah wrote this part. Moses wrote this part. And it was like, there is no Bible scholarship that supports any of that. You're just making stuff up, basically.
Jill said 40 authors over 1,400 years and 0 contradictions.
Okay.
I love it. Jill, this guy reminds me of you a lot.
Well, how do we even know that we have the right books? And what people will say is, oh, you need the church councils to tell you that, or you need church tradition to tell you that, and it's always their church tradition. But do we actually know that we have the right books? How do we know that? Well, the Old Testament has 39 books. They were written between 1500 and 400 BC. When we're talking BC, it's counting down, not up. So 1500 to 400 it sounds backwards, but that just means, over a period of 1100 years. Now, Jesus recognized certain books in the Old Testament. He recognized the law, the prophets, and the Psalms. The law, the prophets, and the Psalms, this is referring to what we now call the Pentateuch, what the Jewish people call the Torah. It's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. That's the first 5 books. That's the law. And then the prophets, that's the prophetic writings, the historical writings. And sometimes the terms are used interchangeably, but law and prophets is everything in the Old Testament that we have in our Protestant Bible, 66 books, except for the wisdom literature. The wisdom literature is Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon. And you might think that Lamentations gets thrown in there as
Can
well.
you stop brief,
it really
just
doesn't.
real briefly,
Yeah.
Robin?
But very poetic.
Yeah.
So, these guys, he's Protestant, and he's saying the Protestant Bible, but where did that Bible came from? It came from those councils that he's discounting.
Yes. Yes.
His entire Bible is based on the books that they chose to be in the New Testament in particular. The Old Testament
Yes.
was already set up, but um, it's always weird. The Protestants don't have their own Bible. I mean, they might have a version of it, but the main books that were chosen and the
We're,
ones that
we're
weren't,
chosen by what is
made
the
by
Catholic Church now.
right, right, or the
Yeah.
Orthodox Church, if you want to say the
Yeah.
Orthodox Church came
Well,
first.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's interesting. Like but then I've had people try to tell me that Baptists have existed since John the Baptist.
oh, yeah, Bruce said that. That is ridiculous. Because they
Well,
have Baptist in their name, that, yeah,
yeah,
he was a Baptist. And it's
yeah,
like, yeah, they know the history. Baptist came from Protestants, it came from Martin Luther.
yeah, Protestant, yeah, Martin Luther, yeah, there were like if the Catholic Church doesn't do anything right, then how can you know anything that you know? Because they're the ones that church is the one that put the Bible together and kept the Bible, um,
Right.
like copied and circulated until Martin Luther did his treatise on the wall of the church door or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah,
book. But the wisdom literature was symbolized or signified in the old days by simply the word Psalms. That was it's the biggest book of those books, and it is you would use that term to describe all the wisdom literature books. So when Jesus authenticates the Old Testament canon,
and we need, like, a lot of people assume that this goes in like an order, and I think that the oldest book in the Bible that we have records for it being the oldest is Job.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that maybe that's the oldest the one we getting traced back to, is probably the oldest, like, that was written down. Like I said, a lot of these were oral traditions, so we have no idea, like maybe how long these oral traditions were around. But
And I'm seeing that Job was written during the Persian period, roughly 6th to 4th century BCE,
yeah,
not 1500.
yeah, no. We didn't have at 1500. We didn't have um, that kind of writing, did we? I mean, like, as far as I know, all we had was cuneiform
Right.
and
Right.
tablets and stuff like that. And we haven't found any. I don't think we found any. We have found the Epic of Gilgamesh on cuneiform tablets.
Yeah, no,
You
those
know,
documents are a lot older.
yeah,
Or
which
not,
is
they're
like,
not documents, but yeah, they're cuneiform
yeah,
clay tablets. And that's where, of course, the stories came from, Noah's flood and these things. But Christians won't admit that.
yeah. So we don't have any writings. There was, like, writing and early writing. They didn't use paper or anything like that, which is why we've had so much trouble keeping up, I guess, with the older, documents of the Bible, because it was written on paper, or not paper, but
Bark.
parchment and stuff. But there are older writings than the Bible. Like, the cuneiforms are much older than anything we have for the
I
Bible.
think there's Indian writings that are older than the Bible. I'd have to look at that.
And most of the cuneiform tablets that we find have nothing to do with religion. A lot of them, of course, the Epic did, but, like, most of them are like where people are doing, like, trading stuff and selling
Accounting.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
accounting. Yeah. Oh, what did they?
and when he says these are the books that are scripture, he says law, prophets, and psalms. That's the same as law, prophets, and writings, which make up the Jewish Old Testament today, the Tanakh. It's the law, the prophets, and the writings. And actually, that's where the word Tanakh comes from. I don't know if you've ever heard that word, but that's how Jewish people refer to the Old Testament. And it's an acronym, TNK, Tanakh. And it stands for T, Torah, N, Nevi'im, that's the prophetic writings, And Ketuvim, K, that's the wisdom literature. Law, prophets, and writings, the Tanakh. Now, in Luke 24:44, Jesus uses these terms, law, prophets, and psalms. He also refers to law and prophets in Matthew 5, Luke 20, John 10, John 13, etc., etc., etc. So for Jesus, the books that belong in the Old Testament are the law, the prophets.
Okay. I don't know what Jesus said because the second, like much of that was written after this, so they could have made Jesus say anything they wanted to about it. But he was a Jew, so he probably would have talked about the Jewish literature more than anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
He
it was
also
the
said-
character. The character of Jesus said something, basically. I mean, you can't say that really Jesus said this.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, well, I mean, even if you just presuppose that was real and he even said the things that are in the Bible, which nobody was following him around taping, it's amazing to me how they can still like you can't. They had part one already when part two came along.
yeah.
It's
Part
like,
two was written to fulfill the part two is the New Testament, right? That's what you're saying.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
so the part two was written to fulfill the so-called prophecies in part one, and so they
And
wrote part two to fulfill those prophecies. Whether they were, they weren't really fulfilled in the real world.
Yeah, when they didn't do a very good job of it, actually. Still, even with the open book, like there's a lot of things that
Right.
they really didn't do a very good job of making sure. But yeah, they should have been able to do better than they did at fulfilling. Like Tyre, the city of Tyre.
Right. It still exists.
Yeah, well, they've been actually, and I've noticed though, it's been being bombed lately, and so I'm just kind of hoping that maybe they're not trying to finally fulfill the prophecy by bombing
Oh,
Tyre
my
now.
God. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's horrible. It's in Lebanon, right?
Yes. Yeah, and let's just go ahead and destroy this city so we can get our Bible prophecy out of it. Wouldn't surprise me.
That'd be
any.
horrible.
And the writings, which happen to be the exact same 39 books that we have in our Bibles today. Now, they arranged the books differently, but the content was exactly the same. And so then the question is, all right, so we know which books belong in the Old Testament, but how do we know that those books haven't changed? Has the Old Testament perhaps changed over time? Well, for a long time, our Old Testament was based on something called the Masoretic text, which was written dating from the 8th century AD and later. It was written by a group of scholars called the Masoretes. That's why it's called the Masoretic text. The Masoretes had copied the text of the Old Testament, and for a long time, those were the earliest books that we had. But then something really astonishing happened, because we didn't know, we couldn't go back any further than the 8th or 9th century AD, and we're talking about books that were written BC. But then in the 1940s, something really fascinating happened. The Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. The Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in 1946 and 47. And now these are Old Testament scrolls that go back to 250 BC. And they were written in the intertestamental period, so between the end of the Old Testament and the beginning of the New Testament, and a little bit afterwards. So they date from 250 BC to 135 AD. So now we are pushing back our earliest copies of Old Testament books, not from 900 AD, but all the way back to 250, which is in 1100.
Yeah, that is true about the Dead Sea Scrolls, about that they more closely match they're more accurate to the Masoretic text. There are also New Testament books though in there, right? That never made it in the New Testament.
I think so, yeah.
That are books that are, I mean, like the Gospel of Thomas is in there, right? Isn't that one of them?
Well, I mean, there was the what was it called? There was a different find than just the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it was called I think let's see, Nag Hammadi Library, 52 ancient Gnostic and early Christian texts discovered in Egypt in 1945. That's where I think the Gospel of Thomas were in some of these Gnostic Gospels.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, I guess yeah,
So what does
people.
this prove what he's saying? I mean, so the
I don't.
stories match.
Yeah,
It
yeah. The
doesn't
story.
make a it doesn't make them true because the stories match.
Yeah, that which I mean, that was a pretty
Maybe
good.
I'm missing something.
That was amazing find though, all that stuff there. Yeah,
Yeah, it is
but
amazing.
just don't tell you know how much. But it's still all just claims, and like doesn't make anything true.
100-year improvement or over 1,000-year improvement. And guess what? The Dead Sea Scrolls very closely match the Masoretic text. In other words, the Masoretic text that we had was authentic to that which was written 1,000 years earlier or even longer. Okay, and the discoveries that we keep coming up with keep verifying the authenticity of our text, of our Old Testament text. Let me tell you about the Ketef Hinnom scrolls. The Ketef Hinnom scrolls were discovered in 1979, so about 30 years after the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they contain passages from the book of Numbers in the Torah, in the Old Testament. Now get this, the Ketef Hinnom scrolls are written on silver, and they date back to the late 600s to early 500 BC. So now we're talking about 1400 to 1500 years earlier than the Masoretic text, and they also authenticated the text that we had. And so we know, based on the discoveries that we keep finding, that the Old Testament is reliable. But what about the New Testament book? The New Testament contains 27 books.
Okay, just because even if they all matched up all the writings, that does not make any of the material that is in the text accurate.
Right. They were still superstitious people that were writing these things. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, and they were just they were written. I mean, like just because we didn't have them, they were written about the same time when they all these other writings were happening.
yeah,
Um, so
600.
yeah, but like it doesn't make anything that they say true just because they managed to stash some of the copies of their writings somewhere and we found them.
Which is really cool. I mean, I look that
Yes,
it is cool that they're finding this stuff, but
as BS points out, a well preserved lie is still a lie. It's a good,
exactly.
it's a
Well
good
said,
point.
yes.
Yes.
Written from about the year 50 to about the year 95. Some people say it started earlier, other people say it ended earlier, but let's just say somewhere in that range. Maybe we push the early date to like 40 or 45. It depends on who you ask and how you date the books, but we're talking about books that were written in the first century and only in the first century. Now, how do we know that we have the correct books in the New?
Okay, I don't think that's accurate. I think
Well,
that
50 seems early, doesn't it?
well, there are some people that try to get that number. I think
Paul was
70.
written first, I think. Um,
Who?
Paul wrote first before the first gospel was Mark, I believe. But I believe
Yeah.
that the writings of Paul came before the gospels were written.
If see but like out of the 13, there's 13 books that are supposed to be attributed to Paul, and I think like 5 or 6 of them are in question
Right.
about
They came
actually
later. Yeah.
yeah. So that depends on so I don't know which like Acts, like I think maybe Acts, um, the second part or whatever. I can't remember, but I know that there's a lot of Paul's writings that are attributed to Paul that are pretty much questioned, and I think pretty much it's a common among biblical scholars to not attribute 6 of them maybe
Right.
to
So
not being to him.
I'm showing that he wrote his letters, the Pauline epistles, between 48 AD and 67 AD. This makes them the earliest surviving Christian writings, predating the four Gospels by several decades.
Yeah, yeah. I think the earliest gospel pretty much common is like 70 for the earliest gospel. So, and I'm not sure that they're
I
all
think
either.
his timeline's a little skewed toward
Yeah,
Jesus's life.
yeah.
And
But you go to 40, like imagine waiting 40 years and then writing stuff down like about to this timeline now. I mean, people have managed to rewrite January 6th, and we have and,
Right.
like, and they did it like in about 2 weeks out. They managed to rewrite it. So
Right. I mean, I've heard, they basically say, well, not that much time went by in between Jesus' life and when these things were written. And the example that I heard was, well, look what happened in Roswell, New Mexico, when there was a weather balloon, an Army or Navy weather balloon that crashed. And then 20 or 30 years later, you have alien autopsies that have been created
yeah,
based on that weather balloon crash. So just in that time period, the story underwent these fantastic elements that ended in an alien autopsy. I thought that was a
yeah,
good analogy.
and yeah, and I don't know if you watched the hearings, the UFO hearings, like a couple years, like last year in the House of Representatives.
I don't think so.
Oh my goodness, you should have watched them. There was like two of them were military, like leaders. I don't know if they were generals or whatever they were, and they just kind of got up there and explained some unusual things that they had saw. What I mean? They weren't attributing them to any one particular thing, but they were saying this is what we saw, and it was
Yeah,
something that we weren't expecting, and we can't explain it.
right.
But there was a third guy that was there that claims that he had seen the bodies at Area 51. He knew that we had alien bodies, and like he got up in front of the House of Representatives and testified to this. It was so funny. Like because they remember
I want
like
to see that.
well, see, they like now they don't. They now that you can't watch them live anymore, like they did since Trump come back into office. They got rid of that, but they had there for a while. You could watch every hearing they ever had, and so I told my best friend, I was like, we're going to watch the House of Representatives hearing today, and she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, they're doing UFOs. It was like
That's just
uh,
awesome, though.
it was like watching Mork and Mindy or something.
I like that stuff. I went to the Alien Museum in Roswell, and I've been there twice, actually. It's great.
Well, you might be able to find that hearing still on YouTube because it's
Okay,
on
I'll check it
YouTube. So
out.
yeah, it's yeah, they got three of them there. Yeah, but it's pretty good actually, and um, it was funny though because he gets up there and testifies all kinds of crazy stuff. He'd seen the bodies.
New Testament. How do we know that? Well, not just any book could make it into the New Testament. The book had to be cola, C-O-L-A. It had to be accepted in all the churches, which means it had to be Catholic. The word Catholic means universal, according to the whole. And there are several verses in the Bible which give us this criteria. Colossians 4:16, 1 Thessalonians 5:27, Revelation 1:11, 2 Peter 3:15 and 16. All of these passages hint at the idea that the books of the New Testament were to be read and accepted in all the churches. And so that was the first criteria, was that a book had to be Catholic. So that's the C in cola. Now, it couldn't just be cola. It couldn't just be Catholic. It had to be Orthodox as well. And what that means is it had to teach correct doctrine about God. In Galatians, it says, if anyone preaches to you a gospel other than what I have taught you, let him be anathema, eternally cursed. And that's not the only verse that talks like this. 1 John 4:1-3 says, test the spirits to see if they come from God. 2 John.
Okay, correct. How do we know it's correct?
I don't know. Is it meant to be somewhat consistent or within
No,
that worldview?
I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
mean,
Yeah.
like,
He's just saying that. He's just making a statement again.
yeah, correct. Oh,
9 and 10, 6, 3 and 4, and Titus 1:9 all give credence to the idea that for a book or a teaching accepted by the people of God, it has to be in line with what God has revealed previously. In other words, if someone comes along and starts saying, "Oh, we got this new book of the Bible. Yeah, it teaches these crazy things. It's new revelation. Never heard it before." One of the first questions you have to be asking is, does it agree with what God has already written?
Okay, I just want to point out that we have how many? I don't know how many. I'd say people say 40,000. I don't know how many denominations. We have many denominations of Christianity, including Protestants who left the Catholic Church because they didn't feel like that the Catholics were teaching the correct doctrine. So, I mean, there's several
And even
different.
within those churches, there's disagreement, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Baptists. I mean, like Baptists. There's
right.
so
They
many.
can't agree on anything.
There's so many divisions of Baptists, and like, so like, this is, oh, these people. I don't know. I don't know why they're so black. They lack so much self awareness on what they're saying. Like this guy does not seem to be aware of any how much nonsense he's making here.
We have the 39 books of the Old Testament, which teach truth about God. So then the question is, do these new books teach the same kind of truth? Are they in line with that truth? Do they teach that there is one God? Do they teach that God is good, God is the creator, that God is going to send his promised Messiah into the world with certain attributes and characteristics, who's going to do certain things? This is why the Apostle Paul, when he would go into the synagogues in the New Testament, he would always go into the Old Testament scriptures and show and prove from the Old Testament that Jesus was the Messiah, because he was trying to show that the teaching he was bringing was orthodox. It was in line with the previous scriptures. And God had always given, mankind has never been without revelation from God, even going back to Adam. So we can always compare what,
Okay. Jesus did not fulfill the Old Testament prophecies.
I
don't
have
know how-
no idea whether.
Well, I mean, like,
I'm trying. There was a prophecy in Isaiah that was supposedly about the Messiah, there was, and also prophecies in Daniel, I think, that were talking about it. But they
But
never
that's-
mentioned Jesus per se. I mean, they were just
No.
talking about a savior almost, or
well, they were expecting a man to come and lead the Jewish people into war into battle against Rome and defeat Rome.
right.
Like, and he wasn't supposed to be a god. Like the Messiah was not necessarily a god to the Jewish people. It was, it was a man who was going to come. He was going to be,
And he was going to come like within a short time period. It wasn't like he was going to come in hundreds and hundreds of years, right? I mean,
yes,
the way I understand these Hebrew prophecies, that they were meant to be short-term
yes.
prophecies.
And at this time, that the Jewish people were under Roman occupation, and they wanted the Romans out, and they thought that God would
Right.
send a Messiah that would come and deliver them from Roman occupation.
And how come the Jews didn't buy onto Jesus if it was so convincing that he was God? Why did the people who had written the Old Testament not believe in him? That's what
Yeah.
always puzzled me.
Yeah, because he didn't fulfill their prophecies. Like
Right. They didn't believe it.
yeah, I mean, like they don't have a in Jewish religion there is no there's no prophecy where a man is going to come and die for our sins. You have to sacrifice, and the only reason why they don't do the sacrificing now is because of the temple. Like, you have to have a temple, and there's all these rules about their temple not being, you can't sacrifice outside the temple or whatever. So that's why they stopped doing the sacrificing or whatever.
Good.
Yeah, so like they were not expecting anybody to come and like to sacrifice himself for their sins. That's why I say he didn't fulfill the prophecies, no matter how they try to twist them around. I know people who can break these prophecies down a lot better than me. If you go watch like Justin or the Bible guy Dalton, like on Deconstruction Zone or the Bible Guy or whatever, they go through this all the time, and they debunk these prophecy things all the time.
New teachings come out in the past and see if it really is from God. So it had to be Catholic, had to be Orthodox, it had to be liturgical, used in public worship. 1 Timothy 4:13, Colossians 4:16, 1 Thessalonians 5:27, Revelation 1:3, and Acts 2:42 all describe or command the public reading of Scripture in the gathered assembly of the believers. So Christians are reading these books out loud together, and a book had to be authentic. It had to be liturgical for it to be accepted by the people of God. In other words, if the book's not being recognized in the local churches, we're not going to count it as Scripture. And then finally, it does have to be authentic, and it has to be apostolic, meaning it has to come from an apostle. Ephesians 2:20, Acts 2:42, John 14:26 and 16:13, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3, 2 Peter 3, Luke 11, Hebrews 2. All of these passages point to the fact that it's the apostles who have been entrusted with the truth, who then give that truth to us. And God wants us to know that our teaching is authentic and it's coming from an actual apostle, whether directly or from one of his associates. So for example, we've got 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew was a disciple and apostle of Jesus Christ. Mark was not. But Mark traveled closely with Peter, who was an apostle. Luke was not an apostle, but Luke traveled closely with Paul, who was an apostle. And John was an apostle. So the books had to be from the old, from that era. They had to be authentic. They had to be apostolic. C-O-L-A. The books had to be cola. Now, has the New Testament changed over time? Let's talk about this. The way that we figure this out.
Okay, Paul never met Jesus, and 2 of those Gospels were written by people who traveled with Paul.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. No, Mark traveled. He said Mark traveled with Peter and Luke traveled with Paul.
And
I
we
mean, I'm
don't.
not sure what is he trying to prove here. I mean, so the councils had criteria that they used to put books into the New Testament. I mean,
Yeah,
who cares? I mean, it's interesting, but it's like it's not proving that what's
You think
in
it's true?
those is
Yeah.
true.
exactly. And like it just like all of these, this criteria was a man-made criteria too. Like
Right.
just
He said God had made the criteria. If you notice, he slipped that in there.
yes, because yeah.
It's like, yeah, where did God write that down?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like
Hey, we're
they,
almost through it. Let's power through it.
yeah, we're
Out is we compare handwritten copies, which are called manuscripts. That's what the word manuscript means. We compare them to try to figure out what the originals said. And the process of doing this is called textual criticism. Now, how many manuscripts do we have when it comes to the New Testament? Well, there are 5,795 Greek manuscripts. There are 24,000 manuscripts in other languages. And that's just the New Testament. When it comes to the Old Testament, there are 42,300 manuscripts. This is a lot. Combined, when it comes to the whole Bible, all 66 books, we have over 66,000 manuscripts of the Bible in various languages. Now, the average stack of manuscripts from an ancient text, if you were to take the writings of Plato or Julius Caesar, you stack them up, you would have a stack of manuscripts about 4 feet high. Pretty impressive. Think about a book that's 4 feet thick. I mean, that's a massive book, even a lot thicker than my Bible, okay? So that's 4 feet of manuscripts. Pretty big. What about the Bible? How does the Bible compare to the average stack of manuscripts from an ancient text? Well, combined, the Bible's manuscripts, if you were to stack them up, would reach all the way up into the clouds, 2.5 miles high. Isn't that amazing? So the Bible is the best attested book in the ancient world.
Can you
And moreover,
pause it for 1
there
second?
are
Well,
zero
real quick.
differences between the manuscripts that
Um,
change our theology.
yeah.
The difference between, he talks about Julius Caesar, the difference between those writings about Julius Caesar and the Bible is that Julius Caesar himself wrote histories about his wars and different actions. And the historians writing about Julius Caesar lived at exactly the same time and wrote contemporaneously with Julius Caesar.
Yes.
So nobody wrote at the time Jesus lived.
And after the Romans became Christian, they pretty much stopped writing about the Caesars and started copying Bibles.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, but like what is it? The what is it we say all the time? Something about the um, like plural of antidote is not evidence or whatever. Like that, it doesn't
That's
matter how many copies you've got. That doesn't make any of it true.
right.
Like,
It's 5 miles high. I mean, that doesn't mean
yeah,
Theology. In other words, when you compare book to book, manuscript to manuscript, copy to copy, you find, yes, there are differences, yes, there are discrepancies, but none of them that actually change our theology. So, what does all this mean? The unity, accuracy, uniqueness, and preservation of the Bible make it unlike any other book. The Bible is totally unique. It is unique in its preservation. It is unique in its messaging. It's unique in its unity. And all this goes to say, we can trust the Bible. We really can. The Bible is a trustworthy book, more so than any other supposed holy book or sacred text. We can trust the Bible. And that is the book that we seek.
all right.
I think that's the end.
Yeah, that's enough. He's getting ready to start selling this stuff.
You're right. He's going to sell his stuff.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
we can trust the Bible. Yeah,
That's the bottom line.
he showed us no evidence to trust the Bible.
Right. But we can trust it. He said so.
Yeah, none of that proves anything that the Bible says in the Bible. Doesn't matter. But let's see.
Well, I hope we didn't upset the Christians too much.
Oh, that'll be all right.
What
That'll be
did
all
Blessed
right.
be? He called me a
A
slanderer.
squanderer. A
Squanderer.
squanderer.
Oh, that's nice.
A massive squanderer. at
Massive
that.
squanderer. Thank you.
Yeah. See, BS says a majority of those manuscripts come from like the 12th century or later. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Good point.
Yeah. There's lots of copies. Lots of copies. Hey, Robert. Yeah, I should have got Robert on here. Robert knows the Bible pretty good too.
He knows the Bible, yeah, much better than I do in particular. I've heard him talk about it. Well, he studied it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to open the room at some point, right?
Yeah, I was going to open up the room if anybody wanted to come in for a minute. We'll maybe have a open panel for about 30 minutes or something like that, and then I'll probably
That
shut it
sounds good.
down.
Whenever you're ready. I'll be back in 1 minute, Robin.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'll put the link out there if anybody wants to come in and talk about this. I know, Robert, if you just got here, you probably don't even know, but this was discussing the accuracy and can we trust the Bible, pretty much is what it was. So, let me see the other. All right, if anybody wants to come in, you can come in. Let me pin this message here. And yep. Hello.
Hola, how's it going?
Oh, it's going good.
I think you might have me on the latest that I've ever actually been on here. I don't.
I know it's past your bedtime, isn't it?
No, I just geared down and we got TV and stuff playing in the background by this time.
Hey,
The
Robert,
Bible's
good to
very
see you.
accurate. Very
Hey, you
short
too.
range. BS said
Yeah.
it was short range. That's what I think too. I don't
Yeah,
know.
just
Did you catch the video, Robert? Or did
I
you see
caught
that?
just the tail end of him saying, "You can trust the Bible. You can trust the Bible."
Yeah.
Which I mean, to what degree, is the question as far as the ideal of inerrancy. I think the scholarship is all but settled on that subject. And the thing is, you'll see people like Jill and other people in this circle saying, that the atheists do this and do that, but it's not atheists that regularly in the scholarship say that there are contradictions. These are Christian people that are still pointing out these contradictions and these problems. So I think it's just nonsense. If you have the desire to make univocality, then you'll make it. If you want to approach it critical and look at the text and read them on their own terms, then you'll see the problems that it has with it, and it has a multitude.
Yes.
He made the claim that the Bible was written over 1,500 years, and I thought that was quite an exaggeration. Would you agree with that, Robert?
Yeah, that's an exaggeration. They put Genesis and all further back. They most of the very fundamentalist ones want to attribute that to Noah, and they want to attribute the exit of Egypt and all 1300 BC. So it's yeah, that's just not true. But I don't think the scholarship's anywhere around that time frame on it. But you
No.
got things that we know was added, especially even in the New Testament text. We got things that we know they weren't in the oldest text, and assumably he was trying to address some of those, because I seen that he had a page up that I believe was from the Codex Sinaiticus, that last page, or it was from one of the uh, what was the letter that was from a letter of Paul, or was that from Mark? The last page I just seen. I remember the scribble lines there was from a very well known document.
I'm not
I don't
sure. I
know.
don't remember. Do you, Rowan?
No, but he was like, we know, like, the story of the woman who they were going to
John
stone,
taken in
right?
adultery, the woman in
Yeah,
adultery.
we know
Yep.
that's been added because it's not in, like, some of the earlier scripts, right?
Right. Well, and I mean, we've had things. The largest major edit that we know that was changed as late as 1550. So right before the KJV, and there was a change to the what we now call the Johannine comma, which is John 5 and 8. The original text said that there are three that bear witness in heaven: the water, the spirit, and the blood. And what that now has been changed into is a Christian interpolation that this is about the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So now it's
Mm.
become a Trinitarian doctrine, but originally the original text didn't do that. All the way, all of the Bibles, the Wycliffe, I'm sorry, yeah, all the way up to Wycliffe, right up to 1550, they didn't have that Trinitarian interpolation put into the text. So it's been changed a fair amount.
Where did that
Yeah.
change take place? Was it like in Germany or somewhere, or where was the first change of that
No,
comma?
well, the first one was a bracketed change. It made brackets explanations, and I think even in the early KJVs, you'll see that in a bracket that it'll say there are three that bear. I wish you could pull this up like let me see if I got a link that you can see the original pictures from, like, because they have these in the Wikipedia. I mean, you can pull up comma Johannine or Johannine comma on Wikipedia, and there's large articles that'll show you some of the pictures of the older text and how they originally looked, and they would put it inside of brackets to say this is an interpolate. What that means is X, but now the brackets have come down, and it's like it was all a part of the original text when you read it in KJV or any of the modern books. But if you do something like one of the more scholarly books, like the New Revised Standard Version Updated Edition, you'll see that it'll make note of what the original was, and then it'll say the addition and kind of what's been done as a Trinitarian interpolation.
So what do you want me to bring up?
It's a Johannine comma. You can pull it by that.
Okay, hold on just a minute. Well, y'all talk. I can't talk and type at the same time.
Oh, I'm reading
Okay,
about
it's
this
all good.
comma.
Yeah, yeah, it has a Wikipedia page on it that I think will do pretty well. I mean, you can see pretty immediately. I think you can track with this the changes, but my understanding is about 1550 you get this total kind of insertion. And the thing is, I think we had early writers of this that wanted to write this the way that it originally was, and they were like being presented text with a variation to say, no, it's supposed to be written like this. But anyway, it's an interesting one.
It says modern textual criticism considers the comma from Latin for short clause a later addition.
Yeah.
Is this the thing that made you leave? Like, or
Oh no!
started-
Yeah. It's the one that I first started understanding that there was a Trinitarian problem, because I had left the Trinitarian church and become oneness, and I understood that model of oneness, that you just have two components. What you have is you have a spirit and one flesh. So you have the body. The man that is Christ, and then you have the spirit that descended in him, and you can see it just like this. And in this sense, the spirit is the spirit of God. So there's only one entity that is divine, and then there's one entity that is not divine, the man. And when I understood it in this context, you can really understand every single verse of the Bible, but one, and that's the Johannine comma. You really can't reconcile it. But whenever I realized it wasn't even in the original, that it's been changed because Trinitarians wanted to understand the Bible in a Trinitarian view, I realized that people can change and have changed the book. And it kind of started me to question all the different verses and look at them closer.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is that first, Robin? Can you go up real quick to the
Yeah.
very? Yeah. So it says the spirit, the water, and the blood, and these three agree. Couldn't that just be talking about an individual person?
Yeah, there's
Basically like
scholarship.
mind, body, and spirit type of thing, as opposed to talking about the Trinity of God.
Yeah, many people understand this as the spirit, the cleansing, and the sacrifice. And I don't know, it could be understood a few different ways. But I think the original translation of this is best represented by what you see, the spirit, the water, and the blood. And then, these got stretched out further. For the spirit, it would say the spirit, and then it would say, I don't know. You'd have to see it with the text that kind of has
Brackets.
the divisions, that has the brackets. But like I said, the brackets slowly disappeared. But they wanted to use this as a verse to say, yes, this is talking about the Trinity. We have it. It's the Trinity.
Interesting. Let's see
Yeah.
what they're going here. The phrase is absent from nearly all of the ancient Greek manuscripts. It began as a theological marginal note in Latin manuscripts during the 4th century, creeping into the mainstream Latin Vulgate. Huh. I don't know if it's got
Yeah, I
that.
seen that there was a version that came out in 1516 that omitted the text, the thing altogether. He wanted to get rid of it. And then if you scroll back up, I think you scroll back up a little bit, you'll see 1522. It kind of came back. Yeah, he included it in the 1522 edition of a single Greek manuscript containing the phrase was produced. Yeah.
And look here, it says right here that virtually all of the omit the. Okay, so the NIV omits it. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that the NIV omitted it, but the KJVs definitely pushed it in, and most of your modern versions will push it in, especially if does the EIV, virtually all modern translations, such as the ESV and NBC, omit the? I'm actually shocked that the ESV omits that.
Huh.
I guess that's a good thing. They're at least. I think most of your scholarship, even your Trinitarian scholarship, will now say that was not referring to the Trinity. And and Dan McClellan's made videos on it and stuff, but it's one that I think I was probably my first big struggle with this text, and I realized that the text could be corrupted.
Wonder, does
This-
it just show it? Does it, you think, is this what it shows it?
Yeah, that's why I was saying go into the Wikipedia, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it'll show you a look. But again, I think you'll see it changed as far back as the Latin and whatnot. But this was the big one I ran into. So right there where it says 7, this is how it first came in, and they kind of made this adaptation.
And that's the King James Version 1611, it says. So it became a touch point for the debate over the Trinity. Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't know the scholarship. I didn't know any of this. All I had was the book that was in my hand. And like I didn't understand, because I thought the Trinity was a mistake, but this one verse made it was so obvious that the Trinity wasn't a mistake. No, this verse was like acting as if the Trinity is a thing, and I couldn't square this verse with the ideal of oneness. I just couldn't square it. And then the more I started to dig and try to understand this verse, I realized, well, it's okay. You don't have to worry about this verse because it's BS. It was totally messed with.
BS. Wow. Well, I might have to go in and study this more and look
Yeah,
into
that's
this.
that's really interesting.
Thank-
And
it
it
was-
had such an effect on you because it probably opened the door to you questioning all sorts of stuff after that.
Yeah, it was the beginning of people and people that have been entrusted with the kind of the passing down of the story, they have messed with it. And this was the first time that I truly realized that and started to look at text more critically.
It says Martin Luther did not include it in his Luther Bible. So that's weird. There he is right there.
Yeah, then you start finding out when you go back like into the oldest text, like Mark, where this starts out Mark 1:1, it says Christ, the Son of God. Originally, terms like Son of God is not in the older codices. So these things are also, they're trying to shore it up by saying Christ, and just for clarification, the Son of God, and they'll put that in there. But these are little insertions that are not in the oldest text. So it's not just that there are contradictions, there are subtle but certain additions that they've put in to try to shore up. No, this is talking about this person and that person. And it's been going on a very long time.
Yeah, it says it was not in the two of the oldest Vulgate manuscripts, Codex Phoenicis and Codex. I can't say those words. Wow.
So Mark was the oldest gospel. Do they know when that was added to Mark? Yeah, am I wrong there that Mark, all the other gospels are based on Mark?
Mark, we believe, is the oldest gospel, but that's based on a textual analysis. The documents that we can find that is the oldest of Mark, that's a part of the rest of the books, not by itself, is Codex Vaticanus, if I'm not mistaken, and it's dated right at the same of the Council of Nicaea. It's dated at 325. And I think just a few years later is where Codex Sinaiticus is dated, right at about 330. And then much later, I think about 5 or 510, you have the Codex Alexandrius, which these are good big collections. But we do have individual text and little pieces of the letters that we found, like of Mark, that are in like Papias 75 or something, I think is the oldest small part. And some of these date back, quite old, but they're still not the original like autographics. That we don't have any original autographic of any book of the Bible. There's no such thing as an original that we've ever had.
Right.
But not only have we never had an original, we actually have no letters of anyone of the early church ever talking about an original. There's actually no text that exists of any of the church elders ever talking about an original ever. So all they've ever said is that as it was passed down to us, as it has been handed on to us, or terms like these, or as we have received it, So they never speak about any originals. And maybe that's because they never seen one. Maybe it's just because they never really thought about it in terms of the original. I don't know the answer to that, but to the best of my knowledge, no one has ever spoken of an original of any letters.
I mean, it
Oh,
started as an oral tradition for the most part, and that's why you wouldn't have had an original manuscript.
Well, the text analysis puts Mark as the oldest, and it puts Mark somewhere around. And there's a little bit of controversy on this, especially in the more critical, more skeptical community. But I think at earliest, people are dating it at 68. And the only reason I say that is most scholars are on the other side of 70. They think that it's later than 70 because the fall of the temple.
Mm.
And there's some things
Right.
that it said in there that suggested that the temple had already fallen. But many scholars have pointed out it's possible that there was such upheaval at the time that they might have seen the writing on the wall already before the temple wound up being, tore down. So it's possible that that was the case, but it does seem like Mark knew that the temple was already destroyed or that it was coming down.
well, I'm gonna have to.
And the
sit
temple
into
came down in 70. So
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. Maybe that. Not that I.
yeah, and then that's the oldest version that we have, and it's in the two oldest codices. So not in the what's the one I named in 500 is the Codex Alexandria, but in the two oldest, which were dated to 325 and 330, the Codex Alexandrius, the Codex Vaticanus and the Codex Sinaiticus, neither of those have the long ending in the original hand. One of them had some addition that part of it was added in, if I'm not mistaken, but they don't have it in the original pen. They're not in the text. So the long ending of Mark, starting at Mark, 16:8 is the end of that. So 16:9 through, I forget, I think it goes to 16 or something. That is not in the original. So originally, nobody saw Jesus come back and testify to everybody. The ladies saw the tomb was empty and they left afraid, and that's the end of the text. That's where it ends.
Yeah, I know there's
And when was
differences.
that part added?
We don't truly know, but any of the texts that we have found that are after the Codex Vaticanus and Sinaiticus, they seem to have some version of it. Now, there's a Latin version of it there's like an intermittent version that is not what we have presently, but it's something that alludes to Jesus came back and he went and saw the other apostles, and that's in some of the Latin versions. But then we've seen later in Greek what is equivalent to our present version that is now considered the long ending. So there's a short ending, there's an intermediate in Latin, and then there's now what we have the long ending.
Well, like that Joel guy made the statement that there was no differences in the text that would change the theology, and so
Right.
that is that comma.
That's
definitely
specifically a
changes the whole
theological
meaning,
change.
yeah.
That's definitely a theological change there. As far as the long ending, I don't know that it would be a theological change, but it's weird because there's a letter from I can't remember the gentleman's name. He wrote to Eusebius at about 320, asking Eusebius. He was trying to harmonize the time of the resurrection of Christ. So he was trying to figure out the time, but he had a contradiction between the book of I can't remember if it's Matthew or Luke that gives and the other one was with Mark, and he was comparing that time. And Eusebius basically said, disregard Mark because all of the oldest manuscripts, that long ending's not there. So even Eusebius was recognizing back in 320 that the long ending wasn't in the older text. So when it gave the time of the ascension, he's like, disregard that. It's not even in the oldest text. And that letter is all the way back from 320. So the church elders of the time had already recognized that Mark's long ending was problematic to some degree.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go back on his video and comment about the Johannine comma. Yeah.
Some call it the Johannine comma, some call it the comma Johannine. I don't know what's the best official term. I don't know what scholarship uses all the time. What is
It
this
was,
Wikipedia? The Wikipedia calls it the Johannine comma.
yeah, I was gonna say they had Johannine commas.
Oh, but then it says Latin comma Johannine. So I don't know. Call it whatever you like.
Yeah, he'll know what I'm talking about. Maybe. But he just lied to people. Because I mean that one thing right there, like when you say there is no exception to this rule, and then you find one exception, I kind of feel like you don't have to find any more.
I can't remember the name of the early group that, and you see it some from the Gnostics, but there was a group of early Christians that thought that Jesus was a projection, that he wasn't a flesh and blood. And subsequently, there were some texts that we believe were added that weren't in, that's just small adaptations. Like there's one that of Jesus sweating or something. I'm sorry, I don't want to talk out my butt here. I'll have to look into it. But there's a text about him sweating and that they dropped to the ground or something. And this was not in the oldest text. And some scholars have suggested that it was added to try to shore up and fight against the idea that Jesus was not actual physical form, right? They're trying to shore up against another Christian movement that thinks that he was some kind of theophany or projection, that he wasn't a physical body, but that he was all only spirit, and that we were just perceiving him as
Wow.
as a projection. So the church was fighting some of this, and sometimes they used vocabulary in the rewrites to try to shore up this, just in the same way that like Mark 1:1 will say at the end of the Son of God, which isn't in the original text.
That's interesting. You are a plethora of knowledge. Well, I think I'm probably
Yeah, that's
gonna
cool.
cut this off. Me and Big Bad Mama been on here a while. They can get busy doing something else.
Yeah.
I know.
But
God,
everybody else
that
is
tired me
came in.
out. There was so much stuff
Yeah.
that guy said that was wrong.
I would have asked you, Robert, but I didn't know.
I just got in. I've been in a state and a city away doing training.
Oh.
I've been having to do a training
Cool.
seminar and take my test today for license renewal for fire extinguishers.
Oh, okay, cool.
Cool.
You're always busy doing something.
Well, at least we
But-
had plenty to
Yeah.
say, right, Rob?
Yeah. I'm going to bounce out of here, though. It's good talking to you.
All right. Yeah, you
Have a
too.
good
day,
Thank
Robert.
you.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, Big Bad Mama, for joining me. I appreciate having you on.
Thanks, Robin.
I figured nobody
Thanks,
wants
chat.
to listen
Good to see you.
to me talk. Yeah, and thanks, Behe, for calling him a squanderer.
Yeah, Behe. Thank you for that.
You're just so, like, these people are so rude to you. It cracks me up.
Well, I don't, some of the stuff I say, I don't really blame them.
Oh,
I mean,
like Behe.
I'm pretty critical.
mean.
I'm pretty critical of Christianity. So it's like, I don't blame if people get upset by that. But thank you,
I'm
Robin.
pretty-
Take care.
All
I'm
right.
gonna
Thank you. Thank you,
jam
Big Bad
out of here.
Mama.
Bye.
All right. Bye. And everybody, I don't know, I haven't scheduled another one yet, so but we'll have another one pretty soon. I'm gonna get into doing some evolution stuff. So I've got to line up some people for evolution. But thank y'all for coming. Let me get the